Good afternoon, members, officers and members of the public. My name is John Cater Clark. To the committee, the public element of today's meeting has been recorded in line with the City Corporation's policies, and the recording shall be retained for up to 1 year. Chairman.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Welcome, everybody. Let's crack on, I think. Welcome, everybody looking at us online. I think it's just, there's a few people. Town Clerk, over to you. Start the agenda, please.
Chairman, thank you. I've received apologies from Shastil Saluja, Deputy Sir Michael Snyder, James St. John Davis, Deputy James Thompson, and Deputy Christopher Hayward.
Thank you. While we're handing out papers, so we move straight on to 2. Can I assume there's no new members' declarations on the table? I'm taking that as no. Minutes of the previous meeting. I'm sorry for this as being late. I'm afraid I'm quite keen on getting the minutes right. There's one correction still on the non-public, and our town clerk had much better things to do on jury service for 2 weeks because they was away. I think these are okay now, but I'm sorry for the late circulation. Is everybody happy with the accuracy of the minutes? Martha.
It's not about the minutes per se, it's just generally, and I can raise this a little bit later, it's just about reports coming late. And it's not just this committee, it's others. And I think we need to put like a bar in essence for late reports, because there's not enough time for members to digest the information to make a informed decision. And I know I keep praising it, and I know you keep nodding, Henry, but I think we need to stop this.
I totally agree. The minutes was unforgivable, and I accept that. The housing paper was subject to quite a lot of last minute playing around. And I agree. We ought to and must. We'll just note that point again. For important papers, they must arrive on time. Bethany.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Martha just said. I think particularly as a new member, obviously I want to do the best I can in my role, and having papers, particularly ones that are important papers, filed with fewer than 24 hours to go to the meeting, I think is just untenable, because I don't think anybody will have the time to scrutinise them properly.
Thank you. James, did you want to add something?
It was, Chairman. I thought I would add, as an old member, a quick observation. I happen to have been doing a little investigation of this, because I think we're all experiencing it across committees. It's not just here. It used to be the case that officers would have everything ready 9 days out so that they could actually get things to you 7 days out. I think that might be something that needs to be looked at, and I thought I'd just suggest that used to be the case. It's fallen to abeyance. Perhaps we can get back to it. Thank you, Chair.
No, okay. I think the point is noted and agreed with. Perhaps I'll ask the Deputy Town Clerk to make a note of that. I mean, I think really we ought to have. I hate late papers anyhow, but I think we must have at least five working days notice per paper. So if officers and town clerk feel something's going to fall out of that, I think we need to warn the paper writer that they need to get their skates on, because it is important that we do have enough time to scrutinise these papers. Thank you. May I take the minutes as Anne?
No, with those points. I'm not wishing to be over controversial, but I do think we need to address the issue of staff recruitment in town clerks if we're going to be able to get those papers realistically, because we are operating at such a deficit almost all of the time that it isn't actually possible, in my view, for them to do what we're asking.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's a good point. I think we're all in the same place.
If it's helpful, though, that is, obviously there are challenges with retention recruitment across the board, which Ambition 25 will hopefully address. The issue about receipt of papers doesn't actually sit within town clerks. The challenge what we have is we can't circulate papers until we have them. And so, for instance, for a number of committees recently, all papers for committees have arrived pretty much the day before dispatch, which on the one hand, limits the quality assurance you can do, and secondly means it's physically impossible to get them out any earlier. Now you have a fundamental challenge there. What do you do organisationally? Do you cancel the meeting and have no papers, or do you have them? It may not always be the right choice, but we would also we'll welcome chairmen particularly, but members support generally in pushing back against late papers, because discipline is really helpful. So in the committee team, we're going to have to deal with a lot of papers at late notice, and it makes it very difficult to plan for resource allocation, staffing time commitments.
That's right.
Thank you. May we move on? Thank you. To 4.
Chairman, thank you. Item 4 is Finance Committee's forward plan for the Chamber for Information, page 7.
This is pretty factual. I just draw your attention to what I suspect will be quite good debates in January about the Barbican 10-year plan and in February about the budgets. I'll just leave those hanging there for your future interest. Thank you. Let's move on.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 5, the public updates from the Projects Procurement Subcommittee meeting of the 18th of November 2025 for information.
Am I allowed to ask the chairman to speak? He's on screen. It would be helpful if we can do.
Chairman, my apologies. If I could just send my apologies to the committee. I had a boiler burst and a water main burst at the same time this week. So they're trying to work on that this morning, which is why I am stuck at home. And I'm just limiting any comments to points of information from the committee. So just a really quick update. The P3 project management framework launched on the 25th of November. There are 130 attendees, including project managers and SROs across the organisation. That's the real kick-off stage for our new policy framework, which is great and comes with the knowledge hub as well. We've offered training to all of the impacted chairs and deputy chairs of committees, and we'll continue to monitor that as we progress. In addition to that, we've also amended the risks on the corporate risk register related to project portfolio strategic impact and or financial value, which is CR33. It doesn't appear under item 13 because it's rated amber as opposed to red, but it's essentially just looking at the fact that we were only focused on the major projects as opposed to all projects in the entire portfolio. So hopefully that's useful. The mitigation is quite clear on those things. Obviously, the next steps around the project management framework is about maintaining data quality, embedding expectations into performance management objectives and tweaking the reporting. And I just want to say thank you for members for their engagement and constructive feedback on that as we move forward. We also agreed updates to the terms of reference following the last finance committee to ensure that we've got key service committees represented on that. It's great to have the chair of the Capital Buildings Board joining that so that we've got all of the projects covered from a policy perspective. I'd also like to just put on record my thanks to Alderman Hales, who stepped down as a member and former chair of PMPSC. I think all members know that Tim has really been driving the start of the transformation programme, which we are working on now to deliver better value for money. We hope to be joined by Dawn Wright as the PAB replacement. As members will be aware, Dawn works across digital services and policing procurement at the moment and has done a huge amount of work on the action fraud report fraud, I should say, not action fraud, the action fraud replacement report fraud over the last few months. So Dawn will be a great asset to us, I'm sure. I understand your next item on the agenda from the rewrapping will be the Integrated Facilities Management Forward Plan. I just wanted to say from a PMPSC perspective, members emphasise the need to ensure the contract represents value for money over its entire life cycle. I think there are some pretty good KPIs that we were shown, so we were satisfied with that proposal on the service. But we need to ensure that there is still flexibility in that model. I know we've talked to, or we've heard from the Barbican that talk about just needing a plumber to do stuff on the, immediately on the ground. We've spoken to the open space that just need a painter and decorator to do those things. So we need to make sure there is flexibility in some of those models to do that work, but it had the support of that. Thank you, Chairman. Other than that, we'll take in non-public.
Thank you very much. Are we allowed, you can't take, are you allowed to take questions? You can't. Okay, all right. Well, let's. Has anybody any questions? We can try and address it, but otherwise we go straight on to. We're going to bring item 7 forward, as Ben has just said, which is the integrated facility management approach. I think Matt Baker was going to talk to this, or was it?
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay.
The main purpose of this paper is to propose to not invoke the optional break clause at the end of the initial 5-year term of the 6 individual IFM contracts that we have. This has been agreed at Project and Procurement Subcommittee, and as already mentioned, performance is stable. Average KPIs are in excess of 94%, and the average net promoter score that we receive from the end users of the service is currently at 8 out of 10. It's worth also noting that should things change, the contract allows for us to terminate at will with 6 months' notice, should we desire to do so. Value for money established at tender. However, we do conduct annual benchmarking reports every single year to ensure that we're comfortable that that's still the case. And the only cost increases that we've had since commencing the contracts are both CPI and London living wage increases, which we do have member approval to increase budgets to support. And we do have commitment, however, from all suppliers to try and mitigate the cost impacts of CPI and London living wage on an annual basis. Take any questions?
Okay. So the clear recommendation agreed by PNP is option 16A on page 17. Continue, do not utilise the brake clause. I guess my only question is that we haven't been clever over recent years in not looking at these contracts until the last minute. So it just seems to be, can we, even though we've got a 5-year brake clause, are we able to make sure that there is a reason sort of a comprehensive review on or after 5 years, because there's quite a lot of money here on the paper, you know, 15 million pounds. I think we ought to make sure that we are getting appropriate value and performance. So I just highlight that. But are there any other questions on this paper? Are we happy to agree? Can I ask in that case? I would like, it won't be for me, but I do think we ought to bring this back at some stage in 2027 for review of these contracts before they hit that 5-year or the first 5-year break. I think as a matter of good order, I think it's a sensible thing to do. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Chairman, thank you. Turning now back to item 6 on your agenda, is the housing revenue account position. This is George Chamberlain, Executive Director of Community Insurance Services for information, page 9.
Members, I'm very happy to have a debate on this, but I think we've got a paper in non-public. I think I just wanted to make 3 points on this. Is that first is you look on, and I'm happy to take any questions, but I just want to draw your attention to these. This HRA showed a deficit of 1.3 million up until recently. It was only until we started digging that we actually realised that the deficit was nothing like that. I have asked the Chamberlain, who's confirmed that this will now be subject to a monthly review at very least. And I'm just concerned, which is what I think we ought to just draw this to the attention of audit risk, because it does seem to be, I feel slightly guilty here because we could have dug down on this earlier. But, you know, I think it really is important when we're trying to search out cost control that we don't let ourselves fall into a position where probably for 3 months we've been misunderstanding the position. I just don't think it's very clever. So I just mention that it might be something that audit risk could look at across the board. You know, where we're seeing massive overspending, can we get into it a little bit earlier? And I think I'd also like to just draw your attention. I've gone public on this twice now in budget speeches. On page 10, the sustainability of the HRA. If you then look at the comment under paragraph 6, a small dispersed estate whose geographic spread complicates centralised service delivery. I remain personally of the view this is not something that is fit for purpose for the corporation. And I think, personally, I'd quite like to note that and have a proper debate in non-public, but very happy to take any questions on that. The paper otherwise reads fine, in my view, but anyhow, any questions? Sandra.
Thank you. Just a couple of points. I wonder if somebody could explain whether the new Renters' Rights Act will help with generating income to the HRA and when that might be. And then I have a second question, which is there's a comment on voids. Are we dealing with them quickly enough, turning them around in order to start generating income as quickly as possible?
Who could answer those questions? Sonia?
Chair, I can come in on the rent, but I would have to turn to my colleagues in housing revenue account to take the voids one. But with regards to rents, yes, there would be, and but it's not as much. So it's around about 100,000 that it would have an impact on going forward. It would be incremental. It won't be a big bang. So it would be over the longer term period that it would catch up. Thank you, Chair. Can I suggest, I don't believe anyone from housing and revenue here, so can I suggest we bring that?
Well, I think I just make the same point. I just think everything's telling me we need to really do this job properly on HRA, and so it's not for today. But I just think we have to recognise this really needs a proper look. What is the best way for us to support or not support an HRA? Stephen, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that a major reason for the shortfall or the over budget is the inability of us to place people in new accommodation because of a whole range of issues, which has nothing to do with housing. So there's probably been much more lost in the inability of us to place people in Black Raven Court over the last 2 years. And if that had happened, we wouldn't be quite in the same position. The existential question that the chair raises, that's an existential question we could ask about many things that the corporation does, Chair. And I'm sure over the next few months, we'll be having those conversations in many places.
Thank you, Steve. I think you and I are in the same place on some of those. And Chairman.
I think really it would be helpful to members to understand why there's been such a shift of the million. It's around the repairs and maintenance being more reactive than planned, and that, as you're aware, is because of the state of the housing stock. Given that, it's only after the event that you can actually check whether something can be capitalised. So going forwards and monthly, I don't envisage that being an issue. The tighter control on the cost base, on staffing, on contract management is very much underway. So to give members assurance, that is happening with the executive director, who's taking an active interest in those decisions as it goes through. So I am confident that what you will see and we have put in place is a very tight monitoring arrangement for the HRA going forwards. But yes, it's largely down to the capitalisation of the repairs and maintenance, which does, of course, also need to be agreed by the auditors as well.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Can we note that and move on, please? Thank you.
Chair, thank you. As per my earlier comments, item 8 regarding Berry Street has been withdrawn from today's agenda. So we move to item 9, Chairman, the International Disaster Fund. Proposals for allocation, report of the town clerk for decision, page 29.
Jack, do you want to present this very briefly?
Thank you, Chair, and hello, members. So this report is providing an update on the International Disaster Fund. This is an £100,000 fund that's allocated each year to respond to international disasters when they happen. In autumn 2024, the Finance Committee agreed a new arrangement seeking to fund a charity called REACT, who responds to a wide range of different humanitarian disasters across the world. So I am reporting back on a year of that funding with some options for members to consider on how to allocate the fund going forward. Since submitting the paper, I've had a further discussion with the chairman, and because there are 3.5 months left in the financial year, we think instead of allocating the final 25,000 to the DEC for their current appeal, that we should retain it in case there are any significant disasters that happen within that period. But that's just one amendment to the report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So, members, this is our only charitable contribution. We haven't got any money anyhow, so but this is very generous of us. I think it's probably a good thing to do something. I've been really impressed by REACT because they're straight there. And I rang up Jack on the day after the Jamaican hurricane, and they were already in Jamaica within a day and a half, which I was pretty impressed with. So I think probably it's good to keep some sort of charitable theme to some of our activities. So my recommendation is we do continue to give 50,000 to REACT this year and keep 25 in our back pocket and wait till March before we allocate it, just in case there's something else comes up. Steve.
I'm not going to start the debate that we had last time, even though Jack was looking at me when he spoke. I just wondered why the chair thinks we shouldn't give the money to the current appeal of DEC, why we should wait for another one. Maybe you've got a reason for that you could share with us.
Just being naturally prudent, Stephen. I just thought, we otherwise we can't do anything in the next 3 months. But I don't suppose it makes much difference. So my instinct was just wait until March. If we've still got 25,000 in the pot, then we can make that call then. But I don't feel strongly on the issue. Oliver.
On the second paragraph, it says that in practical terms, even the delegation which taken place result in a considerable delay. I'm not quite sure. It's not explained as to why that should be so. Is there any good reason why there should be a significant.
I think Jack can talk you through the process, but I think to launch DEC appeal from start, I think can take at least 6 weeks before it gets here. Whereas our donation to React means they're there within a day. But Jack, could you clarify that?
Thank you, Chair. So under the old arrangements, we would be given a heads up probably a week before a appeal was launched. But through the sort of the process that we would go through to get it signed off under delegated authority could take up to 3 weeks for a donation to actually be provided. And therefore, in the current arrangement, by providing them with a grant, they are already responding within days of any international disaster, which means that we can update not just members, but the staff who will often have family living across the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let me take two, but sorry, Tim.
One quick point. What about the publicity for the City of London Corporation? It doesn't mention that in this report. If we're giving money to a disaster, I think we should get some publicity. Perhaps the officer could look into that. Thank you.
Jack, can you comment on that? There's normally a bit of publicity.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we do work with the central comms team, and we do highlight the donations, and we also put them on the intranet to ensure that the wider staff know what's going on. But yes, we can certainly take that back and make sure that it's certainly elevated. And actually, from recent feedback from the DEC for some of their appeals, some of the work we do in comms really does encourage city partners, and there is actual metrics that show that there are larger donations across the city because of the action that we take.
Okay. Are we happy to give 50,000 to React? And I'm very happy if people prefer to give 25,000 to DEC now. I'm not going to oppose it, but I just think we should hold on back. But I've got no. I don't really.
I would like to propose that we follow the officer's advice and do just that, Chair.
Okay. Is everybody happy to give 25,000 to DEC appeal now? I think we've got a general nod, so I think that your recommendation is agreed then, Jack. Thank you. Okay, let's move on.
Chairman, thank you. Item 10 is the annual on-street parking accounts for 24-25 and related funding of highway improvements and schemes reported to the Chamberlain for information, page 35.
Can anybody talk to Sonia?
Thank you, Chair. So this is a regular report to the committee, which we provide the update on the annual spend on the on-street parking reserve, which is required by legislation to be published. So you will see the 24-25 funding that was received and also that was spent. Nothing else to note, Chair.
Any questions? I just sort of note one thing. This is quite a large fund, actually. I just wonder whether it might just worth making the point to ask officers, we've got various definitions for what we can use this fund for, including bullet D, the last bullet point D on page 36 for environmental improvement. I just wonder whether we could ask officers to think whether or not it is possible to interpret that a bit wider, because we are, as you will soon, not today, but find out, City Fund is not in a good place. And I just think if we can, we have a duty to try and utilise our funds where we have them. I just make that point, if we can extend that interpretation. Sonia.
Chair, there is a table on paragraph 12, which demonstrates how we have already allocated the spend. So this paper concentrates on what's actually been allocated for 24-25, but we have also gone through the process of allocating further funding out, and that table is shown in paragraph 12.
Okay. But my point stands. Okay, can we just see if I just think if we can, we should. Thank you. Any, Shannon?
Chair, just reading the summary again. Am I right in reading that it says the surplus on the on-street parking reserve as of 31 March is £60 million?
That is correct. Hence my
big note. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
14 million.
Yeah. So my product, that was going to be my question, and maybe I missed something. There's an increase from kind of 10 this year to 15 over the next few years in terms of the projection. Do we know why that is, please, Sonia?
So the 60 million includes the reserves position as well. So it's not just the income that's received in 24-25. So it's the opening balance, including what's been carried forward as well. So then the table that's in paragraph 12 demonstrates how it's already been allocated. So by 29-30, the balance will be £9.9 million in surplus.
Yeah, we are using that.
I think, and of course, Chairman, car parking charges income. If the charges have gone up, then that adds to the income that comes in.
Okay, thank you. Can we note that? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 11, the operational budget estimates for 26-27. This is a joint report of the Chamber and the Town Clerk, the City Surveyor, the Remembrancer and the Executive Director of Community Interim Services. For decision, page 45.
2 points. One, I have really asked the Chamber to make sure this is the last time we get this sort of paper that doesn't split the two funds. It's really, really annoying from my perspective that we should have city estate and city fund separately. And in call over, I did ask for somebody to explain. We're looking here at an increase of 7.6% in total, which seems way too high until you dig into it. So I've asked somebody from the city fair to explain how the increase in repairs and maintenance is actually funded from the provision from the cyclical work program that we've already made 2 years ago, because that I think is the answer. And I've already I think we're having a meeting of City Re tomorrow. I think we shouldn't it's a sensible point to raise the 1.8 million potential increase, mainly because of indexation costs, but I think we have at the board actually mentioned on certainly the last 2 times whether we should look at restructuring our programme to retain a little bit more risk and reduce our costs. But I just make that point there. But Sonia, can you talk to this? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So in relation to the CWP, this is budget that's already been approved. It's just presenting it back to this committee to say this is how much has been profiled for 26-27. In relation to the insurance as well, Chair, this is largely down to claims rather than the premium increase, and that's why there's a higher cost associated in that. But absolutely agree with your point about taking that forward with City Re. But other than that, the overall increase is 3% on local risk. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions? I got one other point, Steve. I got one other point to make.
Well, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Sonia, because that was the question I was going to ask. I'm sure I asked exactly the same question last year, which is why has the insurance premium gone up so much? So you sort of half answered it there. So is the premium not gone up at all? And it's just, and when you say claims, I don't quite understand what you mean by that.
So 2 things. One, the premium has gone up slightly, and of course that's because cost of construction for ground up cover, well, when we go through the rebuilding has gone up. In terms of the claims, it's the liability insurance, and there is an excess of 1 million on that, and that is largely to ensure that there is more risk sharing, and that helps keep the premiums down. So it is very much a balance, and it does depend on what the claims experience has been in the previous year, as it would for any insurance company.
But Steve, I'm very much on that case, because the property market rates are dropping. So there is I think the scope here for negotiation of the programme, but we won't know until tomorrow exactly how that might move forward. Okay, before I ask you to agree this, I wanted to take a sense check. If you look at the bottom of page 47, we've got a request from Civic Affairs Committee, funded by City Estate, to fund another £100,000 of committee dinners. Being totally transparent, I opposed this in Civic Affairs because I didn't think it was the right thing when we're trying to put City Estate back into balance, which will not into a stable position in 5 years' time. I was outnumbered, but I just wanted to take a sense check from those of us here on finance. I just think it's completely the wrong thing. But any views?
Henry, I think it comes as no surprise that I will completely disagree with what they're proposing here, and I'm with you on that end with over here with Anne Holmes as well. it's just a bad PR message. We're kind of saying, in effect, to the public at the moment, when we've got no money for social housing repairs, or indeed, you know, further capital projects for the next 10, 15 years, etc., that suddenly we can take all on dinner. So I think the answer for me is a total no.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yeah, so I sympathize with what the committee is saying. The suggestion I made at Civic Affairs was go find some commercial partners who can then pay that tab. But we should be using it for other things more important as an organization.
Anne, sorry.
Chair, I agree with Martha. The optics are awful. And if you take it, of course, as a percentage of the corporation's budget, it's a peon, as they say. But the optics are dreadful, and I think it absolutely has to be opposed.
Thank you. James.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to rise because I got the impression from what you said and then Adrian's reaction that the reaction of some noises down that end was being interpreted as the committee's view, and I don't share view. I happen to think that when used well and used wisely, the investment and opportunity and activity of committees, making sure that they're engaging with relevant people, are a useful way of the corporation's operation. Now, I think it's a separate issue as to PR and optics and how one explains and publishes what we do and what we don't do. We make lots of decisions all the time, and I think that perhaps this is something that does warrant and justify better engagement and understanding as to how they should be used and when they should be used. But I'm a bit concerned about the simplicity of suggesting that it's a bad thing not to have them. Nature.
I think I agree with James that we need to check we're getting value from them. And my point is that I don't think committees are necessarily. I think some committees take the view that they're getting these things as of right and not having a purpose to them. And I just think it's really, really important that we look to why are we having a dinner? What's the purpose of it? And I can, you know I argue quite strongly against this because I'm looking at what city estate is going to spend. And, you know, there comes a point when you've got what is essentially an endowment fund. If you overspend, you're going to run out. And I'm not going to mention the numbers yet because that will be a treat in store for you. But I mean, the position on city estate is pretty frightening what we've done to it over the last 4 years. And all I'm trying to do is I think it is incumbent upon us to make sure that one, where we have what is essentially an endowment fund, that we don't spend assets and use them up for the future. And I can certainly next time around, I can give you some numbers on this, but I just think we have a duty to ensure we're getting value from the events that we're staging. And I just think that is really, really important. I've got no doubts. Some of these dinners are really helpful, but I've just got doubts that they all are. Sorry, Martha.
I'm going to just add, Henry, to your comments. We are stewards, really, of this fund in the city. So, you know, treated like being a trustee when we're holding this funds, this money. And we need to think, you know, what are we here for? Public benefits for our city as a whole. We're ambassadors for the city. We can't be looking at self-funding our own dinners at the moment when we've got other issues to be addressing in the square mile. So, as much as there may be some benefit to some committed dinners, but I agree there is none at all. There is a cost benefit analysis that needs to be done. And frankly, we've got bigger fish to fry in the square mile where money needs to be inputted rather than entertaining ourselves. And for once, I probably agree with Adrian, which is kind of unusual, that, you know, let's find other partners. I'm sure Planning and Transportation Committee, there's some wealthy developers out there or consultants that may want to fund this, and we will be guests to that dinner. Instead, I think let's reverse the table. Let's think a bit strategically. Let's focus on what's good for our city.
Okay, thank you. Anne, and the other Anne.
Thank you. I mean, I don't think we need a dinner every year. It could be once every 3 years. But is the 98 in addition to another sum that's not mentioned here?
Yes, it is, yes.
And can you mention that sum here?
I think it was 298,000.
Oh, right. So it's a significant addition to a significant amount of money. Yes.
Yeah. Stephen, you were next. Sorry, then Anne.
Thank you, Chair. Anne has stolen my point, I think, which was going to be, if we talk about this in terms of the nominal amount, we'll all say 98,000. It's nothing in the context of the corporation. Anne's point is correct. This, I think, is a 30-40% increase on the existing budget. There has to be good grounds for such a significant increase. And I don't think that context is in this paper, and I don't think the rationale for it is in this paper. But if you put it in that context of a 30+% increase, it's unjustifiable.
Okay, thank you. Nick, I think.
Thank you. Just briefly, if we just step away from the whole concept of food, basically just return on investment, do we get a return from it? So let's just make sure we take all these decisions based on that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, absolutely. Anne again.
I mean, as any
Medusha.
decent events organizer would say to you, you start with what's the purpose of this thing, and having decided the purpose, you say, is this the right format for doing it? And it is, as Stephen's correct, it is a huge increase, and you have to have some pretty big justification for doing that, given how bad the optics are. I think it's important we don't lose Andrian's point that many of these could actually be co-funded by other people who are part of the purpose of having them. So really what we're saying is we need a whole review.
Well, we need
the way in which we have those.
I mean, we can't do that here, but
No,
I think
not
I'm just
suggesting
sensing we
do,
need to make sure we're getting value for money. But Madush.
Yeah, entirely agree with the points that James made, but the way to fund that is, as Andrew described, through partnering and value for money. Clearly, I'd love to understand what Civic Affairs said in terms of the budget increase. We all know the costs of food and wine has increased enormously across the board. We dine out, we go to the supermarket. Inflation has been absolutely horrific. We all appreciate that, but it would be nice to understand the context, which is not really laid out here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that was really helpful. I just thought that'd be helpful just to get us some various comments, and the Chamberlain can note that for our budget planning.
Yeah, very useful conversation. So thank you, members, and you'll be seeing the budget and any formal uplift requests at your February meeting.
Thank you. Oh, Paul, have I lost you at the earlier item?
No, comfortable.
You have. Okay, right. Okay, can we note that item and the comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 12 is the business plan for Q2, report of the Chamberlain for information, page 63.
Sonia, do you want to add any colour to this?
No, it's for information, Chairman. So happy to take any questions.
Any questions on that one? I think we're noting it. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 13, risk management report of the Chamberlain for information, page 81.
Anything to add, Chamberlain?
Only point, of course, is the red risk on the housing revenue account, which is subject to the paper in the non-public. Thank you.
Okay. Can we just note those? And I just reiterate, I always saying it, the position of the two funds is not good. Let's move on.
Item 14, Chairman, questions on matters related to work of the committee or in public.
I haven't been given. Shannon, you've got a question.
Yeah, sorry for not letting you know, Henry, earlier on, Chair, sorry. But Berry Street was on the paper, Town Clerk, you mentioned. I'd just be interested just to learn about why or the background behind the appeal being removed or anything that we can talk about at this stage. It was a relatively important application.
Gosh, it's not really our call, but
it's not, but just interesting.
The appellant withdrew the appeal. I mean, that was a planning and transportation issue. So I would suggest we can take it up. Ask you questions, planning and transportation. I think that's they're the ones. I'm just pleased we haven't got to fund it to £750,000.
I agreed 100%.
Chairman, I'll go back to the relevant officers afterwards and bring this one.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, any more questions?
Chairman, thank you. Item 15, any other business you consider urgent at this point?
I've got three other points. One, 2 points. One, on the Audit Management Committee, James St. John Javis has retired from that committee because owing to work commitments, and we've asked Jeanette Newman to take the role, which she has accepted, which is good. And also there is a new, I think as yet, informal group, the Barbican Renewal Working Group. They wanted 2 people from finance to sit on that. And I've asked Andrian to take that on for obvious reasons, and also Stephen Hodgson. And I guess that will be, I don't know where that fits into the governance structure in due course, but at the moment it's an informal group. Otherwise, I've got nothing else. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 16, the members now content to exclude the public at this point. Thank you. Bear with me, members.